if we all keep each other's safety in mind and care about and love our fellow people, then these fears will hopefully never become reality. Hey there, my 5 faithful listeners, and anyone who randomly stumbled upon this episode. My name's Lydia, and this is the Lydia Todd Pod. It's probably not a good idea to start a podcast because your last name rhymes with pod, but I'm here anyways. From spontaneous trips to special guests to deep spiritual conversations and everything in between, expect inspiration, stories, and plenty of laughter. Grab a glass of milk, settle in, and let's dive into the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the Lydia Todd Pod. I have been traveling quite a bit this year, and I think it's time for another travel episode. One thing that I have experienced as someone who travels and is a female is that sometimes when traveling alone, there's fears and discomforts, and I am certain that I'm not alone in this. I've talked to many of my friends who are solo female travelers, and they've shared the same sentiments. And so today I just kind of wanted to share what some of those fears are so that we can know that we're not alone in this, and then also maybe give some tips or advice of things that I've learned while traveling solo. I seriously hate traveling alone, anyways, so this isn't something that I really enjoy to do. I would rather be with friends, be with family while I'm traveling. But I have had to travel by myself a few times. Like I went to Prague for a work trip and I had to fly by myself, even though the trip itself I wasn't alone. I've taken road trips to visit people, and just a few other times I've been somewhere by myself. I've done a lot of local travel, such as living in London. I'm always going to new places by myself, and there are certain things that I get scared of, and I don't know if they're just things that I'm scared of because I've seen scary movies or if it's just because it's a legitimate fear to have as a female. Asking some of my friends, what are your biggest fears when you travel alone as a female? One thing that kept coming up was that a man will know that I'm alone. It's really sad that that's the world we live in, but whenever I'm traveling by myself, I definitely don't want anyone I'm around to know that I'm by myself. Whenever a nice guy is a waiter or just I drop something, picks it up for me, I try not to appear that I'm alone. Sometimes I will go in a big crowd, or I'll see a group of like 7 or 8 friends, and I'll kind of walk close to them and like scroll on my phone, act like I'm with the group but just not paying attention, so that people around me don't know that I'm by myself. And another fear is that I'm going to be followed while I'm alone on the way back to my hostel or my hotel at night, especially if you're walking down a street and there's not many other people around. One time I was going to pick up some dinner and then go back to the hostel. I wasn't alone, but I was alone going to get dinner. As I went to go pick up the food and come back, there were not that many lights on the street. There were not that many people out, and the people who were out were guys on bikes or with like dressed in all black with hoods and stuff on. It felt very sketch, to say the least. I have been scared that people will, I don't know, just do something. People could harm me while I'm alone, and who would come to the rescue, or how long would it take for me to be found? Those are just a few of the fears, and these are not crippling fears. Like, I don't think about them all the time, and they're not things that stop me from doing something in a safe way, of course. But they are fears that I've had. Another one is going out to eat by myself. I don't like to do that anyways. Going out to eat by yourself or do something by yourself, it's way more likely that someone will notice that you're alone. I don't enjoy doing that. Hostels are their own world when it comes to being alone, because if you stay in a hostel and you're in a mixed room or even a female only room, people are not your friends. Like people there don't know you. And so it's hard to sleep in a hostel at night when you're scared, what if someone in this hostel comes in, grabs my stuff, or, robs me in my sleep? That is thankfully not the case. Most people who stay in the hostels that I've been to have been very nice. They've been the same as me. Like they're also traveling, just trying to have a good time. But you never know what someone might do or what their intentions are. And staying in the dorm rooms in hostels is quite scary as a single traveler. Whenever I'm traveling, I'm also scared of getting lost or my phone dying because I have no backup plan. Whenever, like, if you get lost or your phone dies and you don't have a way of contacting someone, then if something bad happens to you, even if you just got hurt, if you are hiking somewhere and you fall and you can't get out of where you're at and you can't contact someone for help, it it could be days before you're found. So I'm going to try to address some of the situations that you might be put in and how to prepare to not let those things become the end of you or of your freedom to travel alone safely, freely, free from fear. Another one of my biggest fears traveling alone as a woman is being cheated or ignored by people who don't appreciate and respect women. And that's not usually the case, but I have been to places where I'm with a guy friend and the waiter will only look at the guy friend to get the order. Like, I can't speak for myself, or people in markets might try to cheat me because they feel like I'm not intelligent enough to understand when they're giving me a price that's way too high. I know that that kind of cheating can happen to anyone, but when you're alone as a female, sometimes people think that they can take advantage of that. That is another fear. And I would say that those are my biggest fears, traveling alone as a woman. That's not a huge list. There are more fears that other people have, and I'm sure that there are other things I didn't think of, but most of it revolves around not feeling safe because of the world we live in. Also, not being able to take care of yourself if something bad happens. When traveling alone, some of the tips that I have started implementing for myself is one, be sure that someone or multiple people have your itinerary and you share your location with them so that if something bad happens or if you change your schedule slightly, someone knows. Someone will know if you're missing for a couple hours instead of 5 days later, hey, where did Lydia go? Whenever your itinerary changes, like if you decide, oh, I'm not actually going to go out for the day, I'm going to stay in this local area and do something, make sure that whoever is in charge of keeping track of you or checking up on your location and has your itinerary, make sure that that person is updated. Tell them, hey, I changed plans, here's my plans. Not because you owe it to them, but because you want to stay safe. Another tip is to get a phone plan while you're traveling by yourself. I am all for saving money. Trust me, I do it all the time. But if you're traveling by yourself, definitely have a way to communicate with people, to call if there's an emergency, to look something up, to find directions. It's going to be worth the small price that you pay monetarily for your own safety and so that you don't have to be afraid when you are alone. It is definitely worth the expense. Whenever you're staying in hostels, I would recommend booking out one of the small private rooms, especially if you're not comfortable with staying in a dorm. If you're by yourself, you can book, they usually have two people private suites. So you could pay twice the amount you would as one person and stay in a private suite. It's kind of like getting a hotel room. It may be cheaper than a hotel room, but you can also check out hotel options and see if there's anything nearby that is relatively the same price. I think that the good news is today you can travel alone as a female and be very safe. There's so many places in the world that are recommended even for solo female travelers. I've seen that Turkey is really safe for solo female travelers. I definitely feel like London is a safe place. I would probably feel the same way about Orlando, Florida, and some other places in the US as well. But the main thing is to make sure that you prioritize your safety when you're traveling alone. And even if you're a guy, which if you are a guy and you're listening this far in the video, then way to look out for your female friends. But even if you are a male solo traveler, you could definitely be in dangerous situations if you don't take precautionary steps. So it's really easy to just say, I'm going to take the cheapest option, or I'm going to go on this trip on a whim because I really enjoy it. And that's great. And it's going to bring you joy in the moment. But you need to plan ahead so that you're not in a dangerous situation. We all want to take care of ourselves. I think that this is a part of it, just being prepared when you're traveling alone anywhere. Now, how do you get rid of the fears of something happening? Not really sure how to combat that yet. There is a sense of fear being a God given reaction to things to keep us safe. So I don't think that fear is necessarily something you always need to feel bad about having. If you feel afraid because someone is coming at you with a knife, I think that's a good reaction and it's going to help you choose to, I don't know, run the other way. So, but the thing is, fear should not be something that's crippling you and stopping you from doing things which are completely okay if you take the right steps to stay safe. Like, we don't have to be afraid of driving if we learn how to use a car, how to properly handle things, and are careful as we're driving around other people and other things. We can feel safe in a car because we have taken the steps to be safe. And the same is with traveling. How do we not be afraid that some guy's gonna know you're alone and follow you back to your room? I don't know that that fear will ever be completely gone from me as I'm traveling alone. And I think that might just be part of being a female in 2024. It's not something that I wish on any female. I wish that we could just not be afraid. And I'm sure that some people are not. And I'm sure that some of you are not. I haven't found a way to completely eradicate that fear from my mind. I guess one solution is don't travel alone. But if you have the opportunity to travel alone, there are plenty of ways to stay safe and to not miss the opportunity to travel just because you would be alone. Oh, another tip that I learned from, actually, I don't remember where I learned this. It might have been on a YouTube video. Whenever you are being followed or you think you're being followed and you see another female or another person, walk up to them as if you are going to meet up with them and start conversing with them quietly enough so that whoever you think is following can't hear, and say, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. I'm talking to you right now because I think that a man is following me. Can you please pretend to act like you know me until he walks away, and then keep talking? Most people will be kind of confused, but roll with it because they don't want you to feel unsafe. I think I might have done that one time, not because I was being followed, but because I felt like there were some guys that were walking the same direction as me for quite a while, and I just wanted to make sure, so I wanted to give them time to go away, get far away before I continued going. That is one way that you can avoid being followed if that's happening. Also, if you are absolutely alone, there's no one else, try to FaceTime someone so that one, the person sees you are not alone, or that someone would notice if something happened to you, and so that someone will notice if something happens to you. This is such a terrible thing to make an episode about because I wish that none of this was necessary to even discuss. But it is, and I would rather us talk about it than someone not know the potential dangers or the potential fears something bad happen. If you are a guy and you see a female that is being followed, or you see something that looks like an unsafe situation, please offer some help, offer to call. Don't let them, like, if you see it looks like someone's trailing someone, try to keep them in eyesight until you know that they have went separate ways. Just look out for your fellow human. If we all keep each other's safety in mind and care about and love our fellow people, then these fears will hopefully never become reality. Today was another short episode. whenever it comes to things like this, I just want to say what needs to be said and move on. It's not a joyous thing to talk about fear and insecurity, all of the things that come along with the dangers that are in our society, or potential dangers, things that run through people's minds every day. Thankfully, I am not living a life of fear, and that has to do mostly with God, and I have an internal safety that no one can take away from me. But I would also like to enjoy the days that I've been given here on earth without fearing other people or what could happen to me. If you are a female traveler and you are about to travel alone, or you have a friend that's about to, and you or they have questions about how to do something while you're traveling alone, or you want some more tips, please reach out to me. I will share anything that I know that can help. This topic is really important, and so I will definitely prioritize helping you feel safe while you travel alone. As we wrap up this episode of the Lydia Todd Pod, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for you spending time with me. This really challenges my belief that I only have 5 consistent listeners. If you have any thoughts, topics, or questions you'd like me to explore further on future episodes, please reach out on one of my socials. I hope that our conversations have brought you inspiration and joy. If you have friends or family who might be interested in our conversations, don't hesitate to share the podcast with them.